Hello and welcome to this brand new episode on the Parenting Truth and Dare podcast. I'm your host, Ritika Subhash, and today I have a lovely, lovely guest with me. I think she is somebody that every parent would want to hear from. So please give it up for Dr. Foraum. Dr. Foraum, if I may, can I just give a brief introduction to the parents about you? I know about you, but definitely I want to give an introduction, and then we'll take a lot of important topics and questions. As a brief, description and just some words I want to share for her is that Dr. Foraum is an expert dietitian. She has over 20 years of experience assessing nutritional needs of patients, and she has spent this time communicating appropriate nutritional information to people and parents, educating them on nutritional care plans. She is also the founder of Lite Life Clinic. Their motto at Lite Life is to bring about lifestyle changes to cure various lifestyle conditions that arise because of obesity. Many of these conditions, I'm sure many of us have heard or either struggle from or our family members are struggling from, including diabetes, cholesterol, hypertension, thyroid, PCOS, and hormonal imbalances, along with knee replacements, infertility, pain management, a lot of different things. So a big welcome to you, Dr. Foraum, and it's a pleasure and an honor to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So since this is the Parenting Truth and Dare podcast, I want to begin with some foundational principles that you want to touch upon in terms of a balanced diet for children, right? Because our children's growth needs evolve over a period of time. And parents, I can tell you for a fact, are completely lost, some of us, where we feel, are we doing enough in terms of all of those macro and micronutrients, and are we able to give them the right nutrition? So what would your thoughts on that be?
So, see, nutrition, or we would say food, has been the same over the period of time. So, from the time we were children to now we having children, food has always been the same. Have you seen a different vegetable? I mean, have you seen a different fruit? Until yes, we've seen different country fruits coming to India now. So, the import export per se. But everything is the same, only we have complicated it. So, to just break it down and simplify it, we are still looking at carbohydrates, which are our grains, our whole grains, our millets, our oats, quinoa. All these are new things coming from the Western culture, but they're still millets at the end of the day. Yeah. Then we are talking about our dals, we are talking about our pulses, which we in every state of India cook it in a different way, but we still have our staples, right? Then we are talking about our dairy. Then we are talking about our dry fruits and nuts. Okay, which will be our all this pulses, dals, dairy, and dry fruit nuts will be our protein group in short.
Sure.
Okay, then we are talking about our vitamins and minerals, which are our very own fruits and vegetables. Okay, and water. I consider water also as a very important nutrient because that's very important for everything to kind of flush down the toxins also and absorption of food also. So all of this, all in all, will be applicable to a child nutrition diet also. So if I'm talking about a diet for a child, we are looking at all these pillars.
Yeah.
Now, when the child grows, from a toddler to the middle age and the infant and adolescent, all the names that we have as per the age, all the needs vary because we are looking at a different energy at different ages, if I would put it that way. So if a child is sleeping all the time, then he starts crawling and then he starts doing different physical activities. That's when everything starts increasing. So be it your energy requirement, your protein requirement, your mineral. So we actually graded that way as per the child's activity level, the child's mental exertion, the child's physical exertion. Everything will have an impact on the kind of food that we are planning for the child. So the pillars remain the same as I said, but everything keeps increasing as the age grows.
Right. So the next thing I wanted to ask you was in terms of the sugar intake, right? All of us have sort of made sugar the villain, and we are unaware of, okay, is good better, is sugar better, is honey better? And there are conflicting views, right? Ayurveda will say something, then a new research will come, it will say something else. how can we maintain our sanity and some common sense, usage, and how can we proceed in parenting from that perspective regarding sugars? Because ultimately it's carbohydrates, right? And I think even you should throw light on this fact as to why is carbohydrate so misunderstood. I mean, everything will have carbohydrates, even a piece of fruit or whatever. Why are we, chastising some kinds of foods because of carbohydrates, and why we are not understanding that they're everywhere, kind of?
Correct. So when we talk about sugar, as you correctly said, it is a carbohydrate, correct? Now we are concerned about sugar because excessive sugar is not good for anyone, be it you, me, or children. Okay. Why it's not good? For the fact that we do not utilize that much of sugar. That's one. Two, the spike that it creates in the body, assuming I'm having like 4-5 teaspoons of sugar just now, or I'm drinking some juice with sugar right now, I'm going to have a spike. And that spike creates the issue. It will create cravings in my body. It will create a lot of, problems with my digestion, hyperactivity, a lot of activities inside which are not good for my body are happening. Okay. Oxidative stress is increasing in a way. So a lot of things are happening which is not good for my body. So excessive sugar definitely is a no. Now coming to the kind of weaning that I have been hearing from parents is no salt, no sugar diet till 1 year of age. And I'm like, is this for real? Okay, because I can understand we can do without sugar. Not that we cannot do without sugar. But little sugar is going to do no harm to anyone. Okay. Now, when we are talking about little sugar, what is little? Something little for me could be more for someone else, right? So we are talking like a basic, let's assume like around 4 to 5 teaspoons of sugar. So we are not having any sugary drink or sugary vegetable or sugary stuff. But yeah, some things require sugar. For example, dahi chini. A lot of people like that. And it's not harmful to have that. Maybe we can change the format of sugar. So we are eating processed sugar. Instead of that, we can have mishri or rock sugar. Okay. Why? Because the processing is creating a problem because of chemicals. Now, talking about the glycemic index and whether sugar and good, they both have the same. In fact, good has a higher glycemic index. Okay, so for juvenile diabetic, so children who have diabetes definitely are going to restrict all of this.
Yeah.
Okay. We are talking in a normal children scenario that if he takes sugar or if he takes good, same calories, same GI. So we
So
are
for
not
the
really
benefit of the parents, if you can explain GI, the concept of GI, glycemic index.
is the glycemic index. This is the index through which we measure how fast when a sugar enters your body will give you a spike in the blood glucose level. Okay, just to simplify it, this is how it's measured. So if I have to categorize food in terms of GI, we don't prefer high glycemic index foods because they are going to give me a sugar spike in my bloodstream, increase the blood sugar level.
Yes.
Okay, so we prefer a low GI. What are the low GI? Everything that has good fiber and other nutrients. Now, sugar is empty calories, doesn't have anything except of calories, except of carbohydrates. And as compared to jaggery has a lot of minerals. It could be iron, potassium, all the macro micro minerals are stored inside jaggery. That's why jaggery was ranked better than sugar. But it doesn't mean that it has low GI. That means when it enters your bloodstream, it is going to give you a glucose spike or increase your blood glucose levels. To be a very clear thing in your parents' mind. So, गुड़ की कितनी भी चीजें खिलाओ to the child and it doesn't increase blood glucose, ऐसा नहीं है. It's going to increase, but it's better because of its mineral content.
So,
As compared
so here one more question: where do dates come into this in terms of the the nutritional value? And second is, why should parents, now I'm asking you basic questions because let's unpack it in a very basic way. Why should parents worry about glucose spike?
Right. So first and foremost, dates you asked me. So dates is a dry fruit, has natural sugar inside it. Okay, natural sugars have one benefit that dates come in the form of like it is a piece, right? When you cut it, you can chop it and you can piece it and has structures to it, right? So it is bound in a knit of fiber also. So this kind of sugar when enters your body is not going to give you an increased sugar spike. Okay. Right. Now, sugar spike is bad. Why is it bad? Why is it considered so bad? One, because in the body, when you have something like this, immediately you will have a sugar rush. Okay, so you start feeling good, you feel nice, and you like it, and your energy levels go up. But what about the next 2 hours? You're eating food, and you're not going to eat food every time, right? You're going to have a break to the food. So the energy is in the first 15 to 20 minutes of the food intake. What about the rest of the time? So the child is going to be devoid of energy, definitely. Okay, so when the child is devoid of energy, the body is going to require some energy. You're not going to faint on the spot. So what is the body going to do? Take your protein and break it into energy. Now you cannot afford that, because if you are going to give away your protein for energy, then your muscles are going to be on a weaker end. So you're not going to be fit and high on lean muscle. Okay, so that is why increased sugar, that is the first point I would say. Second, oxidative stress increases in our body. Now, what is oxidative stress? There is oxygen in the body. Now, oxygen free radicals are not good for our body. Okay, because they have a mechanism where they can actually become like cells of cancer also in the end. That is the last stage I'm talking. But oxidative stress could give other problems also medically. Let's take it that way. So these free radicals are not good for our body.
Okay.
So free sugar intake could also instigate this kind of a situation. Okay. Third, it could instigate something like obesity. Children can actually increase weight, which is not okay for their normal routine activities, or not okay as per their height and weight and as per their activity level. So you should be aware of it. You cannot have extra fat in your body. When you consume extra sugar, fat also increases, because if you are taking in sugar, for example, I took in a donut. Okay, now this donut is loaded with sugar and calories.
Yes.
Right? So this calories, my body has a mechanism that I will only absorb that many calories which are required for me at that particular time. I am talking to you right now.
Yeah.
Right? I am going to require only certain amount of energy. If I was eating, I would require more amount of energy. Right? In both these cases, there's a difference of utilization of energy. If I utilize my energy, nothing is going to be stored as fat. But if I don't utilize my energy, there are things that are going to be stored as fat. And this fat storage is going to give problems like obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular problems, PCOD in girls, and a lot of other issues, which are all lifestyle conditions.
So help me understand, you mentioned that it's about utilization of energy, and we all know, right? We've all heard it from our childhood that if the child is very active, let him eat whatever, let her eat whatever, they're very active, they'll burn it off. I have somehow not personally been able to associate with that. I feel like you can't take a free pass like that, right? You can take some liberties if you have an active lifestyle, but the more leeway you take in terms of building good food habits during early childhood, it lasts you a lifetime, right? And I have also faced this. I was very obese as a child. I struggled with my weight for the longest time. So it has been a journey, right? My entire journey of my life has been revolving around weight, right? That is my default way of thinking, that I always am very self-conscious, and I make sure that, it doesn't go one way, absolutely extreme. And that's not, I feel like that's not a great way to operate. It's not like a great operating system, right? So one must not obsess about weight, one must not do that, but one must also not take so much leverage that I have an active lifestyle, I can do whatever. So what would you say to parents about that?
So for parents, I would say you can definitely set limits. Okay, now how to set limits? Now you can decide on a day. Maybe I used to do that with my child, and it really helped. So we used to decide days. Like Wednesday is your chocolate day. So this poor guy, even if you would get 100 chocolates maybe from anywhere, he would save it all for a Wednesday, and he would take it on a Wednesday, that way. So you can have any day that you feel like, and then you guys, and then parents also have to be a role model in this. Okay, so it cannot be that we are doing everything our way and then we are expecting the child to just be there. So definitely I would say whenever you're doing this, it's like a family. It's as a family that you're putting in nutrition culture in the child, I would say that way. Okay, so definitely you can set limits like that once or twice in a week, whatever is permissible and whatever you think right. There's no right and wrong. It's all what we think is right and wrong. So if I feel 2 days are good, go for 2 days. Then we'll also educate the child. So what happens is when the child doesn't know what are the pros and the cons of sugar is going to ask you more and more. And only denial in today's Gen X doesn't help. Today's generation, how it is. They want all the questions answered and they want everything backed up. So you can always give them an education, maybe a reel, or maybe some educative video, or maybe a talk, something somebody's talking about sugar. Just let them hear that. So automatically they are cautious about what's happening around. See, we want to be mindful. We don't want to be struggling. Like you said, everything, every time it was on your mind, the weight and the sugar was on your mind. So that cannot happen all the time. Right? So we want them to just be cautious and mindful about eating. So setting limits, being a role model, and educating them. I think this does a very good part of things. And also, as a kitchen pantry, so as a mother, you should have a kitchen pantry loaded with good things compared to something more sugary. So if I'm going to always get juices or always get this Tetra packs or maybe those colas, then the child is definitely going to have it. But if I don't have it at my place, that at least gives me that 50% leeway that my child is not going to have it at least at home. And you can't stop anyone, you can't force anyone. It's all about educating them, registering it here, and then mindfully giving that an approach.
Yeah, I always say out of sight, out of mind. That's how we need to sort of help our children think, right? If it is there, everybody will have a tendency to go to it, right? Even if you as an adult, controlling your own impulses are going to be hard. So how can we expect a young one to do it? So that brings me to two very important points. One, you said stock the right things in the pantry. So if there is, some ideas you can give about the right things, that will be great. And the second is, I'm sure you have come across a lot of nutritional deficiencies that children are coming up with. I mean, we all know everybody assumes everyone is going to be vitamin D deficient and all of that. But what are some things that we need to be extremely mindful of? Because see, with as a parent to a 10-year-old, I know that there are different schools of thoughts, right? And sometimes spouses also don't are not on the same page. One spouse will feel it's okay to take the child to the doctor and get the issue fixed. The other will feel no, let them take a cold shower, let us do some home remedies to fix it. It's always a tussle, right? And so what can parents do, like, again, logically, mindfully, and commonsensically?
Right. So talking about the right things on the pantry shelf, we are definitely looking at removing white sugar. Instead of that, you can always get this mishri. I think that's the very good traditional alternative, readily available alternative, which we all can definitely look into. Honey, maple syrup. This is all about sugar I'm talking. Assuming we are talking about the breads and we are talking about the millets. So definitely we're looking at whole grains. We are stocking up the whole grains. Then we are talking about snacks. Most of the time, children, when they come to me, parents, they say, Pura din they are eating either the chakli or the chivda or something, or wafers or some kurkure or something. So let's get into this habit of, making hot snacks, something like an air fried potato chip or something. So involve them also during this whole process. Okay, so they'll also like it and they know what they're eating. Just, popping up some popcorns at home, having some makhanas readily made at home. So stocking up on good snacks that will not harm anyone, not you, not the child. Because outside snacks, one thing I want to throw light on is all palm oil. Palm oil has created a disaster. When we talk about right now, we are talking about cancers, we are talking about Alzheimer's, we are talking about a lot of things that have just cropped up in the last 10 years. I'm not saying this is the only reason, but this is also a reason. So there are mobile towers and other things in the environment which we can't control. But this is something which is in our control. Because when you're talking about a kurkure or a ready-made farsan, it's fried in the same oil 100 times. And when it's like not that great. We all know how the oil becomes after frying. It's so thick, and that same oil cannot be passing through our system. So this snack thing, you definitely should start from a very young age. And trust me, this helps because the child automatically deviates toward eating only those kind of food. And this is from a personal experience I'm telling you. So whoever know my son, they know what kind of an eater he is. So they all, say and believe in this, that, right things done at the right time will definitely show up when they grow up.
Absolutely. What a wonderful way to, can you say that again? It's a beautiful.
Things done at the right time will show up when the child grows. So it will be embedded in the child, that nutrition culture. And this I can definitely see, and please do it. This is a personally experienced and done thing.
Absolutely, I can't resonate with you more. Like this is one culture that we have found. I've never bought Maggie at home. I've never bought like chips packets or anything like that at home. My son hasn't even had like a cola or anything. So one wedding we had gone to, he asked me like, "Listen, I've never tasted it. I'm pretty curious. Can I just taste it?" And I said, "Okay." And he had a sip and he's like, "Oh my God, what's the fuss about? I just don't like it." So now he has actively rejected it. But the fact is, we worked consciously towards not introducing that and also building some culture, right? I've not had cola in like maybe 15, 20 years or whatever. So it comes very organically. It's just not possible to tell the child not to do it when you are doing it, right? And we
You're
are
not going to
all
be alone.
we
You're
have
not going to be alone all the time. That is something which you're missing, you know. If the child goes abroad for studies, my child is not here anymore. But still, I know that he's not going to do anything because you are talking about a cola. Now, my son, he's exposed to so many, he's in Canada. He's exposed to so many things, right from a drug, weed, to alcohol, to everything on earth. And how are you going to stop it? You
yeah
can't stop it then. You have to start now. Because if the child knows the pros, and we've never stopped him from anything. So
yeah
this is something which I would like to tell the parents also, that the spring, you know, the more you kind of press it, the more it's going to bounce back. So you need to expose the child to everything when the time comes. So there had been a time when my husband introduced him to alcohol also, because there were his friends who had come home and they were having alcohol and they were telling my son that you also try. And this was all in front of his father.
Hmm.
I was not around, but yes, father was around, and I always appreciate when children come home because that is the way you know what kind of peers they are going to have, what is the kind of lifestyle that is happening around, and all of that. And they were telling him, and you know, to my husband told me that they told him and they said no. So children cannot say no most of the times, you know, for anything, be it food, be it wrong things, be it junk. You have to tell your child it's okay to say no, even if, because that is your culture, that is your habit, that is what you are. You cannot change for others. He
yeah
said no, and they told him that your father is more cool than you, and he said it's okay because I feel my liver and my kidneys are more important to me than anything else, and if something happens to me, nothing's coming, so I am not in favor of having these things. And that was his clear answer. Until today, he goes to the pub, he is happy with his raspberry soda, whatever he takes, and he's happy with that. So, why I'm sharing this example is just that when you imbibe the right things, expose them to the right thing, tell them the pros and cons, and leave the decision to them, be rest assured they're going to take the right decision.
absolutely.
It's combined in them that way, you know. So they know exactly what's the pro and the con of a cola. They know what's the pro and they will take the right decision. Just trust them at that point.
Yeah, well, so many things to unpack, but I must start with the most important thing. I cannot believe your son is all grown up and you know out. So I think you can be a poster girl for, I'll call you a poster girl only for the benefits of having good nutrition because you feel radiant, you radiate that energy and that brightness out. And why wouldn't you want it, right? If you're what do you say, your internal age is lower than your actual biological age, then isn't that much better? That's the way to live, right? And you brought me to this fact about choice. So again, it's about having the right conversations, right? Every family is so different. One family, the child grows up seeing the dad have a nice drink every other day or every day. Then there are some families where it's not a culture. So for me, for example, me and my husband, we're not big alcohol people. We have it in our in the closet, but it's just there. It's just like a showpiece. So that is another way where the child has not seen the parents, and hence there is no curiosity or anything like that. It's there. They know that this is for the guests and everything. So giving the choice, setting the right science type of environment, right? It's also not right that you as a parent are overindulging and you have not set the right context for the child to make the right decision. If you are not being the right role model and you have also not set the right context as to why it's not good and what are the benefits and the pros and the cons, then it can be a road, downhill kind of a journey.
Right. Very true. Very true.
Yeah,
So not everybody is into drinking, but that doesn't mean that your child is never going to be exposed.
absolutely. Yeah,
So
yeah.
you cannot take that, as a scenario, because today the world is changing. Absolutely, there's so much of exposure you don't know about. You're just sitting at home and you are surprised today a eighth standard or a seventh standard child partying in a club. When you go around and you're like shocked to see them when they have all these fake IDs and they've come with that.
Wow.
So yeah, as I said, there's so much in the world, which is happening, and we are all like, okay, this is what it is.
And hence, this idea of being a conscious parent. One of the tenets that I have in the Parent Academy is be a conscious parent, not a controlling one. Because unless you build the right connection with the child, you will only be controlling, you will only be exerting your power on them. And there are only two things that can happen: the child will comply because of fear, or they will rebel against you. These are the only two things that can happen. Unless you really invest your initial years of, when your child is from 0 to 12, I say, unless you invest in building a strong bond, which I can clearly see that you have, and not just from a nutrition point of view, but I'm sure as as two human beings bonding and a mother and son bonding, you put in that effort, and hence it's sort of showing now. So
So
exactly.
I'll give you a very important tip on this. So weaning, when you said the initial years, it's so true, that I have really invested that time, and I tell all the parents to do that who come to me also. So this weaning phase. Now, there's another question that people ask me, and I would throw light on that is, when should we start weaning the child? Some say 0 to 6 months, some say 0 to 4 months, some say after a year. So technically, after 4 months, if you start weaning a little bit, I'm not saying stop breast milk. I'm just saying start weaning. Okay. When you start weaning, the child is still developing the taste. When the child is still developing the taste, the child is more likely to accept a lot of taste and textures at that point if you're introduced it then.
Yeah.
At 6 months, the child is more matured now and is now only on milk. So if he finds or she finds it difficult to now chew different textures of food or different type of food that's introduced, different taste of food that's introduced. So this is a whole research that I have done, and I have seen my 4 month weaned children were better eaters, were wholesome eaters, were independent eaters as compared to my 6 month weaned or an 8 month weaned child.
Okay.
So we think that the child doesn't understand anything. What's the difference between 4 and 6 months? But the child has understood enough. The taste, the textures, the kind of chewing mechanism, everything is developed more better at 4, 6 months. So if you want to inculcate any habits, put in stuff, from 4 months is the right time. That's one. When you invest time with the child, sit with the child, and the child is more seeing and doing. So when what you do is what your child is doing, right? So if you are actually eating with your hand or however you want your feed to feed your child. I like to feed my child as we were doing as Gujaratis. We used to have this thali where we used to have roti, sabzi, whatever we used to take. We used to break the roti, put it in everything, eat it, take a sip of dal. That's exactly how I inculcated in my child. So that is how you give your culture and eating habits to your child at a very early age. So even if the child is 6 months, you are just going to feed the child dal rice maybe. But if you're feeding it on the dinner table or the lunch table with others, the child is constantly seeing how other people are eating.
Yeah.
And that will impact on the child's eating habits. But today's mothers, I have seen 80% of the mothers taking the child to a different room and then showing them crows and showing them books and showing them mobiles and feeding them. So this is like the worst thing you could ever do to your child. Trust me. If the child is eating less, but if the child is eating on the dining table with the family, that child is definitely going to be a better eater as compared to somebody who's been secluded and sitting inside and been eating.
So can you throw some more light on the leptin production and how that gets inhibited when you are distracted, or you don't really know when your satiety levels have been reached?
So what happens is definitely you will not know. So psychologically, when you satiate when you are actually in that zone. So for example, if you are let's say watching something, you are completely in it, right? So that is that you don't finish, you are glued to it.
Yeah.
So series, whatever. That's how exactly how this Netflix business is all flourishing. So same way when you're glued to eating, so your brain, eye, hand coordination is all working in sync. And you're glued to something, you're eating. So you know exactly what kind of sabzi, what is the taste, what is the texture, you're relating relating to it. Maybe your emotions, sometimes you're not in a good mood. You don't like certain things. We respect that. A child doesn't like certain things. A child likes some things more. That's okay. But that doesn't mean the child is not eating that thing completely. You understand? Maybe if I don't like something, I'll eat it less. But I respect the food and I eat it. So the same way, when you're eating in this way, you satiate and you understand the signals of the brain that now it's time, I'm full. But if you're engaged somewhere else, obviously you'll not understand the signal and you're more likely to overeat. And not even maybe forget the signaling. You don't even enjoy the food. You cannot relate to the food. Your emotional quotient towards the food is also decreased. So there are other things coming with that. So satiation is definitely, your satiety value definitely depends on how you have had your food.
Right.
So that is very important, that food time is food time, not any other time.
So yeah, I hope parents you're listening to this along with your kids, because the best way I feel is to empower the kids with the right knowledge. And sometimes it's good to listen, good to have them listen to the experts as well. It's not just you who has to take in all this information. Trust your children to be logical beings. Trust them that they can understand all of this. They understand the digital medium. So even listening to Dr. Forum, they will be able to take this in. I'm going to pick your brains on very minute things, okay? Because I want people to take so much value from you. You had 20 years of experience. Of course, it's too little to ask, but at the end, of course, we will share where people can find you and your work, so that if they directly want to connect with you, that channel should be open. But tell me, from 0 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 10, tell me, in these age groups, what should be some major focus areas for parents? Introduce this, do this, do this, and do it for a regular kid. And for me personally, this question is, can you tell me also about kids who are into sports? So high activity kids, for both, if you can tell, 0 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 10, so on and so forth.
Before I forget, you had also asked me a question. I will put light on this, on question on the deficiencies that you should be looking for in kids. So definitely you should be looking for iron deficiency when you find that your kid is too defocused, or when teacher complains constantly in school that he's not understanding or focusing or not performing to the optimum or getting tired very easily. So look into the iron levels, because I find a lot of children being deficient on iron these days. Okay, vitamin D, if your child is falling sick very fast or complaining of pain, definitely check the vitamin D and calcium, both. Calcium in girls, you can even see with a little bit of hair fall, weak hands, weak bones, pain. Even if they do little bit, they'll have pain somewhere. They lift some things, they have pain. So all these are markers that you should be checking for their vitamin D, calcium levels also. So iron, vitamin D3, calcium, and vitamin A. If vision, so these days we see a lot of children getting specs so easily.
Yeah.
Have. So what we do is, for example, if I tell vitamin A, then parents, who know a little bit about nutrition say, oh, we are having carrots every day. But how are you having them? Are you cooking them? Because if you're not cooking them, the beta carotene is not even getting absorbed and not even getting turned into vitamin A. So we want
Oh, so
things
the
to be
carrots must be cooked. They must be steamed off.
yeah, any green orange vegetable when cooked, like pumpkin or carrot, all this, they will give you good sweet potato. They'll give good amount of vitamin A. But if you eat them raw, then very likely chances the bioavailability is not that great. So always good to cook. Even if you parboil this, that works that way. So these are the deficiencies that you should be concentrating on. Now coming to your other question is 0 to 6 months, what you should be doing. So see,
More
0
like
to
0 to 3 years. I would say just broader things, 0 to 3 years, 3 years.
okay. So when you're saying 0 to 3 years, definitely see the pillars are going to remain the same. You should look at a wholesome diet. Okay. So you should look into carbs, and carb restriction should be a big no-no. I have seen parents telling the child that you become fat, and the child is not eating food. From that day, the child was eating 4 rotis. Now she's eating only 1 roti and she says, I'm done. Practical examples like these. So please, parents, I mean, carbs, protein, dairy, your nuts and seeds and dry fruit, your vitamin, mineral through your fruit and vegetable, and your water. Everything is coming in. Now, quantities, as I said, if I have to give it in terms of quantities and age group, I would definitely say the energy. So the carb intake will always increase. the protein intake will also increase. Now, for sportsmen, protein will increase more because there's a lot of wear and tear. So for sports, when you do any exercise or play any sport, you're doing a lot of wear and tear to your body, and that gets repaired only with protein. Okay, so you have to really concentrate on your protein levels. People who are vegetarian can look into the sources like, as I said, dals, pulses, your soy products, their dairy products, nuts, seeds, all of this, dry fruits. And if they are not vegetarians, they have other options also open like chicken, they have lean meat, they have freshwater fishes, they have eggs. So all this can be a wholesome part of the protein group. So protein very, very, very important for all age groups, I would say. And our Indian diet specifically lacks a lot of protein. If you see, our nashta or our breakfast would look like an aloo paratha, or but for different zones, it could be idli sambar or it could be theplas for Gujaratis. So it could be different, right? But we are constantly emphasizing on carbs. Now here, we need to tweak it a little bit and say, let's put in some protein. Now, how will you put in protein? So assuming you're making an aloo paratha, put some paneer inside it. Or assuming you're making a thepla, add some chana atta or sprouts inside it. Or if you're making an idli sambar, on its own, idli is a carb, sambar is a protein, good combination to have. Add some vegetables, excellent combination to have. So this way, just put your thought, the protein groups. So just put a thought around menu planning and managing. I think that's what is lacking. We just, maybe we are tired, we get up in the morning, kya hai, fridge mein, we'll make something. So just have a little bit of pre-planning, and I'm sure you'll never need anybody. Till you really have some problem and you're visiting a nutritionist, that's a different story. Or real sportsmen now, who are playing India or who are playing at the state level, who are doing constant workouts, they may need us because they need to really monitor their weekly kind of intake, and we actually monitor their calories, proteins, all of that. But for a normal child, what a mother can do is just concentrate on these 5 pillars, and she should be giving the child all the nutrition in the world. Then make the child's plate colorful. Okay, at any age, whatever you are talking. So they should be eating fruits, they should be eating vegetables. Now, another common complaint is my child picks out all the vegetables from the pasta or the noodle or whatever I'm giving, and I need to hide the thing. Now, this all is built up in the basic years.
So yes, absolutely makes a lot of sense. From a protein point of view, if I were to ask, what is your take on protein shakes for kids?
So protein shakes, when we talk about, see, they are anything made in a factory. You don't know what's happening. Okay. So if you want to make something, make it at home. If you make it at home, what all ingredients will you use? What I do personally for my child, I'll pick up all the protein groups. So right from pulses, I'll take the chana, I'll take the moong. You get those roasted moong these days. So whatever pulses I get, batana, I'll take all of that, maybe 10 grams of all that. Then I'll take all the seeds, all 20 grams of that. I'll take all the nuts, 20 grams of that. Okay, I'll take sattu powder. Now, sattu powder is it's the roasted chana powder, basically. I'll take some of that. I'll take some of makhanas. That's my carbs, in a good way, built with calcium. I'll take all the seeds, chia seeds and all, which I told you. What I do is I'll grind all of this and make a powder out of it.
You roast and grind or just grind it?
If you want to keep it for a longer period of time, roast. If you're doing this affair on a weekly basis, even if you don't roast, works. Okay. So you can take till seeds also. Till is also a very sesame seeds. So basically all 5-7 seeds that you know of, just mix everything. Flax seeds, chia seeds, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, till, black and white, all of that. When you mix all of that, you get a very good mixture, which is loaded with protein. It's a plant protein, so it's going to be easily digested as compared to a whey or something else, which you don't even know what is the formulation, what they have added. They just give you some numbers, stabilizers and fillers and everything added, which a child doesn't need at this juncture. But till the child is not exercising like good 200 kgs of deadlift or something, even an adult will not require extra protein medium, trust me. So if you are, and again, this is the personal thing. So whatever I'm talking is not in the air. I personally have lifted 120 kgs without any protein and only eating what I was eating, which was good and was sufficient for my body to recover from the soreness with the very second day. That means my body had enough protein to recover and repair my muscle and be ready for the second day of workout. So parents should not worry for their child if the child is eating a wholesome meal. So breakfast, lunch, dinner has protein groups. Okay, has other antioxidants and stuff like fruits and vegetables in as fillers. Has nuts and seeds, in between, and has enough water. Has good amount of dairy for the calcium, or if not dairy, then has retorting to something like a makhana or chia seeds for calcium, potassium, and other needs. Then I don't think there should be an issue for the child to even take some other supplement or make this kind of powders. And
even for like, I think what I did was, there was one time where so Bonvita is a big thing, right? A lot of people have this. Now we have people like Revant Himmat Singha who are putting in so much of their effort and energy. He's the food farmer, and he's putting a lot of spotlight on looking at ingredients and things like that. Many years ago when I was in the US, there was somebody similar doing a similar work. Her name is Vani Hari, so she's been doing this work as well. So what I used to do my son anyway is not a big milk person, or never has asked for any of these on top of things on top of milk, but just mixing cocoa powder and gur together makes such a good bonvita thing. Just two ingredients, and it doesn't take you any time or anything, and at least you have that satisfaction that I know what has gone into this, right?
Right.
So maybe from that point of view, 0 to 3 years, of course, focus every age group, you have to focus on a balanced diet.
Yes, balanced diet. That's the key. See, I don't want to complicate it. I will tell you, eat broccoli every day, eat avocado every day. So they are good. I'm not saying they are bad, okay? But what I'm trying to say is, why complicate? Our nature, Mother Nature has given us seasons. Every season gets some or the other fruits. Okay, you will see summer season, immediately tadgola is there, lychee is there. So that are all cooling food. So nature has planned it that way. So just keep it that way. Like, don't complex it in the names of different diets and different things and fancy stuff. Just like stick to your basics and you will get everything. Be rest assured. You will not have to worry about your health. But yeah, discipline is something which we all forget. We do something one day and the other day we don't have consistency and we lose it. So if you are disciplined,
with the nuts, soaking nuts at night, I'll do it with full gusto for 2 days, 3 days, and then I forget it for the rest of the month and all.
Also, in that case, don't soak. It's okay as long as your digestion is good. You are going to eat it, digest it. If you're not digesting it, is where you come to the level 2 of soaking. See, I feel more we do, more difficult it gets because our lives are very busy. We are not at home. We are doing 10 things. Like you are also associated with so many people. You have kids, you have home, you have work, you have everything. And in that, if you're going to add on steps to your routine, those steps are very difficult to then have consistency with. So if I'm going to eat my dry fruits just like that, and if it's suiting my body, my gut, I'm not having any bloating, I'm not having any discomfort, I'm good to go. Then my one step is saved. So similarly, for all parents also, just put dry fruits in the dabba of your child. If the child is not able to tolerate, you'll have some symptoms, maybe in the washroom, he'll have some discomfort, he'll have bloating, he'll tell you I have pain. Accordingly, you modulate it because not all children are the same.
Yeah, I think this is just bringing me so many different ideas. Especially, I love the idea that you gave of the homemade protein shake. I think this is going to be my key takeaway from today. But while we are having this discussion, we obviously need to have a little bit of fun, right? And now you've shared that you have this Gujarati background. So, which is your Gujarati indulgence? I mean, I love Gujarati food. I'm a total desi when I come to Gujarat. In fact, one of my first so when I moved from the US to India in 2010, I started working with a Ahmedabad-based edtech company. So all of my visits used to include my, that vada pav and dabeli and, that morning poha and all of that. What is your indulgence that you just can't do without?
Frankly, I tell you, like you'll be surprised, and maybe I don't know, you may judge me, but I my mindset is that I should not be someone who is, who can't do without anything. So I am someone who wants to be without addictions. That is something which was on my mind since I was a child.
Yeah.
So today, if you give me something, I'm good. If you don't give me something, I'm good. But only thing what I prefer is what I eat is good. So today if you take me out and there's something which I will not like, I will stay hungry rather than eating something which I don't like. So that is my weak point. That is something which which everybody around me gets sometimes irritated also with me, especially abroad, out of India, where I just don't eat anything at all, and they're like, "Tu khai you eat? It's okay. I'm not stopping anyone, but I'm good." So this is something which I eat. I want good, but there's nothing. Trust me that I can't do without not tea, not coffee, not milk. I can do without anything. Yeah. When I go, in fact, I stop milk also. At home, I drink milk, but there I stop milk also. I'm only on fruits and whatever locally it's available, fresh produce, all of that. So I cook. I love spicy and salty food. So I am not of sweets though. But everything I prefer at home. Even the dabeli that you said you should come one day. I make a good dabeli. That's a compliment for people around. So yeah, you should come. And yeah, I cook everything at home, right? From my pastas to lasagnas to breads to pizzas are all homemade typically.
Everything, the dough and the everything.
Because then I have this constant thing in my head that palm oil, palm oil. So bread till now also was something which I used to still order from Big Basket and I used to say consciously which doesn't have palm oil. But now I have got a solution to that also. So I invest
High
like
five to that. I also got a bread maker, but it's hard to stay consistent on the making routine. But yeah, I always try and find the vendors who are small, local, and they mention the ingredients and everything. So I think that awareness is very important, and involve your children in this, right? Make them this. You can actually gamify it for them. You can give them a little magnifying glass and say you are the nutrient detective or something like that, and get them to see, and be more aware of what am I eating.
Get them to cut, simple as that. Just tell them you cut these vegetables. Get a little less sharp knife. You have the ceramic knives. Tell them you do that, and they are very happy to do that. I mean, absolutely. So my brother's son, he is very young. He's in the fifth standard, and he makes fantastic things. If he wants to make, he will make a nimbu pani with jaggery, and he'll make those nice cakes and a lot of things he does. So he enjoys cooking. So yes, involvement is a very good thing you should be doing. Then they automatically become aware what is going inside it. They know what's the ingredient, what's good for us, what's not good for us.
In
So
fact,
involvement.
to add to that, this brings me to another conversation. I was telling you I was having a meeting this morning. This was with a vice principal of a very, very top-notch school in Dubai. And she's like, ever since I've come to India for vacation, everybody just talks about food. Now what to eat, now what to eat, what do you want? So she's almost overwhelmed that why is everybody always talking about food? And I think this is something, it's a very pertinent point, right? As parents, as mothers, as traditional mothers, we always feel our love is residing on the plate. And the more that we constantly feed the child, how would you say that the spacing of the food, of course you have to listen to your body, and we have to allow the child to listen to their body, and we have to listen to our children, but is there any thumb rule that parents can follow?
So I just feel, that there should be no separate cooking that should be encouraged. Very, very basic thing when anybody who comes to me for counseling or even from 0 to 4 years for weaning diet, first thing I inculcate is no separate cooking.
But does
Assuming
that mean, what about spices? If you mean no separate food, what if
coming to that. So assuming you have a child, okay, and you have to start weaning the child, obviously you're going to make something. So now if the mother is cooking dal chawal, for example, which most of the homes, Indian homes have dal chawal in the morning. So I tell them dal ka pani nikalo, chawal ka pani nikalo, start giving. Okay, we have fruits. So that could be a separate cooking. That's fine because the child doesn't have teeth as yet, has different nutritional requirements at that point of time, has other limitations at that point of time. The moment the child is 6 months to a year, now you have to inculcate the routine habits of your home. Okay, so if you keep cooking separately all the time, this is what you're going to do lifetime. Because now the child is smart enough. The child is like, मुझे रोटी सब्जी नहीं खाना. The mom will get up and make, okay, क्या खाना है? Pasta. She'll make pasta. So what is happening? The entire family is eating roti sabzi. The child is eating pasta. Now this becomes a habit. Every time he doesn't want to eat, he'll say, no, I don't like this. No, I don't want this. And then the grandmother and the mother will go and sit and cook, and then the child is being fed. So don't give this special importance to the child. The child is there. It's equal. Even you are a child sometimes, and the child is also the child. So these days I've seen parents being that special. Oh, the child is doing something cat for you. Well done. What well done? I mean, okay, there are times when you encourage, okay, but all the time giving the special attention is not necessary. And that is leading to a lot of other complications. Like I'm an NLP trainer also. And I get so many of these children getting into depression because they don't get that same kind of attention from other people. So that is a different scenario altogether. Forget food.
Yeah.
This thing is another level. So,
Yeah.
anyways, coming to not separate cooking. So, the moment your child doesn't like, if his child says, I don't like दूधी का sabzi, कम खाओ, लेकिन खाना तो पड़े. Once you become assertive, I'm not saying controlling, we just become assertive about what maybe that night the child goes to bed a little hungry. Maybe he can retort to something like dry fruits, or he can snack on some bedtime snack like dry fruits or other things, maybe a milk or some milkshake or something of that sort. But we are not encouraging this, being very assertive about it. The moment you start becoming assertive, the child understands the kind of effort the mother has put, or anybody who's cooking has put, to cook a meal. How difficult is it?
Yeah.
And once the child becomes a little compassionate about this, all these tantrums will automatically follow.
Yeah.
It's just getting the child to realize how difficult is it to make a meal which is eaten in 10 minutes but taken 2 hours to cook.
Yeah.
That
That
from collecting the food and cooking the food.
yeah. This brings me to a very interesting news article that had come some time back, that your child should not be the most important person in the family.
Right.
It's not that you're doing a disservice. You're actually equipping them with the right mindset that, everybody in the family is important, equally important. Everybody has their
Right.
own things, and everybody needs to be more compassionate to the other person.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that's wonderful. Just a quick quiz for you. I know this is a bit impromptu. I also just thought about it,
No
but
problem.
tell me your choices, okay, between one or the other.
Sure.
Eggs or paneer?
Paneer.
Why?
Because I know that was coming, but yeah. So a lot of allergies associated. Again, animals, somewhere down the line, being a gen, I have this thing towards animals that I don't like, when an animal is tortured or done something. Now, I'm sure eggs are not produced very organically. There are certain growth hormones, injections, stuff and stuff, which goes in for so much of egg production to actually take care of so many Indians, the population that India has currently, or anywhere in the world, that is. So that is another thing, from where this originates. And third, yes, allergy being because I've seen people severely getting allergic to these animal products. Though there are people who are allergic to milk, but they're not allergic to paneer.
Okay. Yeah.
Same with the cow. I'm not saying that the cow's milk is coming in a very different way, same growth injection, same. But if I have to choose between the two, then it would definitely be paneer. And technically now I'm trying to find substitutes. So my other research is going on to find substitutes. I myself have implemented this, that stop milk and get to substitute which is giving you equal amount of calcium, equal amount of protein, equal amount of potassium and other minerals, so that we don't have to rely a lot on milk, and we can give some relief there to the animals.
Okay. Regular milk or nut milk?
Regular milk, again, because nut milk in India, finding the right, so availability. Had there been an ample of availability, I would say nut milk. Because one is the cost factor, second is the availability. And if you have a family like in India of 8 or 6, and if I say nut milk, poor thing, they're going to spend 30,000 on milk only the entire month.
Yeah, it's definitely expensive.
It's very expensive. Third is the authenticity. Fourth is it's coming from a factory. So we don't know the kind of, how do I say this? The kind of, every factory will have different norms. Let's say it that way. So the nutritional efficiency, sometimes it comes. Now I've seen ghee. A lot of articles coming on ghee. I don't know if they've read it, that so much tons of ghee were found which were manually made and it was all artificially flavored and all of that. So anything made in factory, gets me into this zone that I don't know the authenticity of anything because I am not one and made it. So
Okay.
at least with milk, I know that it's coming. There must be some water, there must be some antibiotics, there must be some pus cells. I am boiling it, getting it to an ideal sterilized temperature and drinking it. So at least I am devoid of all of that. Yeah.
Lastly, ghee or any cooking oil, let's say mustard oil, ghee or mustard oil, let's say.
Homemade cow's ghee, I would say.
Homemade cow's ghee. Okay. Lovely. So I think I can actually go on for hours and hours because my stomach is not full right now. I have so much more to learn from you. But for the benefit of our listeners, we are going to give them a break right now, and maybe some other time we are going to again do this. It was such a pleasure. But like I said, this is the Parenting Truth and Dare podcast. We unpack this truth about nutrition and so much about wellness. What is a dare that you would like to give to the listeners? I want them to take some action today.
So the dare that I can think of is no separate cooking from today. So put your feet down and try and tell your children to eat what is made. They can't leave the table without eating anything. And it's going to be no separate cooking.
Yeah, and in fact, if you do desire, if the child does desire to have pasta, just make one day as the pasta day where you also eat the same thing. So everybody gets the same equal treatment. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. There has to be some compassion because the mothers can't be cooking and serving the whole day. Even if you have a maid, that doesn't mean that the maid is cooking separately for everyone. So yes, that kind of compassion the children should develop, and the respect towards food more than that. Because what is made is going to go wasted.
Yeah.
Just because you don't want to eat.
Well, it has been an absolute pleasure and honor speaking with you, Dr. Forum, and I wish you so much more power, so much more energy to do so much more, and I will see you at a different time.
Thank you so much, Ritika, for giving me this platform so that I could reach so many parents. And a very good initiative taken by you to actually enlighten and empower parents. Very, very
One
good.
last thing, where can parents find you and your work?
So at my work, I'm placed in India, Mumbai, Borivali, and we operate all over the world through one office only. So they can find me online and offline. They have to take appointments on the office number. We are also there on Instagram by the name of MS Lite Life Dietitian, and on Facebook and on LinkedIn. So all the links, maybe we can share it with you. You can share it with your group if they want to get in touch with us.
Absolutely. Yeah. It'll be an honor. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the session. Bye-bye.
Bye.